So, as of late, I've kind of had a morbid fascination with like cave diving and not actually going into a cave because heck no. Um, as a wise man once said, I quit, you know, caving when I was born. But I've had this weird fascination with watching these cave tragedies, like the big one, like the Nutty Putty cave incident, where that dude got stuck upside down for like 27 hours or something, and then like passed away. Unfortunately, rest in peace. But like I've been watching all these like cave diving stories, and then one of them led to an incident named Floyd Collins, who might, in my opinion, might have the the belt, the championship rather, for the worst death ever. At least some of the snippets I heard of it. They even made a musical about him, like the Floyd Collins musical. Wait. Let me show you. Okay, Floyd Collins musical. Yeah, they straight up made a musical about this dude. So, yeah, the Floyd Collins Sand Cave tragedy is a pretty interesting one, and apparently, A Man in a Cave is a video talking all about, this event that happened with this guy. And, I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing from the Internet Historian how he breaks it down. I haven't looked at the Internet Historian for a YouTube channel in like years. Like, this is the second version of EDJ Reacts. I originally had a first version where I actually watched a few Internet Historian videos. But I deleted that channel, and then I decided, you know what, that was a bad idea, let me fix this. And then I made this channel, the second version of EDJ Reacts. Though I've only watched, like, history stuff. Though this one is a historical event, in the sense that this actually happened, and this man's, tragedy is something that, like I said, happened. So, yeah, caving, man. If I'll share my thoughts with him as we go along. I should probably get to the video instead of yapping. So, if you want to watch the original video by the Internet Historian, the link is down in the description down below. I always make sure to put it as the first link so you can easily spot it and visit the channel and the video yourself. And if you enjoy my content and my channel and want to help me out in any way, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It would help me out a lot. It would really help this small but humble channel grow, and I would appreciate it a lot. With that said, and now without any further ado, we ought to get to it, huh? Let's watch Man in Cave by Internet Historian.
Sorry for the re-upload, fellas. The original got copy struck. RIP. But don't worry, we are working on new main channel videos. Here's a sample of the timelines. In the meanwhile, Incognito mode, which has a new video about every 6 weeks, and Story mode, which has a new video about every 4 weeks. Thank you for watching a second time. In the state of Kentucky, there is a cave that every now and then demands a sacrifice.
That cave literally looks like a mouth. You ever played like Fear and Hunger, like the God of the Depths? It literally looks like the mouth of that monster. Ooh, that's an eerie look. Literally looks like a mouth, dude.
January 30th, 1925. A man walks towards the cave with a kerosene lamp in his hand. He hangs up his jacket and ducks into a 5-foot opening. The inside of the cave is small. He has to go on hands and knees, crawling through passages of sharp stone and choking dust. Then down a chute he had cleared out months earlier. All of the daylight is gone from here, and this lantern is his only source of light. Ignoring the loose limestone rocks perched directly above him, he is now 100 feet in, and here he reaches the turnaround room. Now they call this the turnaround room because this is the juncture where even experienced cavers say, no thanks, and turn around. Because to continue on means going through this. The squeeze. A gap in the stone of only 9 inches. For reference, here's a Subway sub.
Oh heck no. I don't know, the image that he's showing here doesn't look too bad, but now that he puts it into perspective, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. My goodness, bro.
Going through, he would look exactly like this.
Oh no.
His arms will need to be completely at their side, and he will need to exhale so that he can reduce the size of his torso. Gradually, bit by bit, he disappears.
I don't have like what is it? Claustrophobia? Claustrophobia? Yeah, I can't pronounce it. For some reason I can't pronounce the word, but I don't have that. But like watching this is kind of starting to give me a bit of like, it's making my heart race a little. People do this for fun, which is the wildest part for me. I'm like, oh heck no, bro. I'd rather just continue my own hobby of just making YouTube videos. You know, the worst that can happen to me is I get a mean comment or a dislike. The worst that can happen to you when you're caving is death, so, you know.
Into the hole. His clothes are caught on sharp gypsum crystals, hooking into him and threatening to hold him in place. Using just his feet, he pushes himself forward.
Yeah, that's Wendigoon, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Wendigoon? He makes some really great videos. Like, I saw his I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, like, analysis breakdown. Great YouTuber. Yeah, Internet Historian does do this, where he brings in other YouTubers, to help him, so it's good to see a familiar face.
He reaches a wider opening at the other side.
The real guy.
Then crawls forward towards a ledge. Lit by the lamp is a drop about twice his height. There's already a rope here. He gently climbs down. His worn-out leather shoes touch the ground. This is as far as he can go, and it is time for work to begin. What he is working on is another opening. At the moment, it's too small for anyone to fit through, but he will chip away at it until he can shove himself right through the other side. Because on the other side is this. An otherworldly cave structure, dripping with pristine white crystals. Every day for months, he has been removing rocks from this crevice. To him, this is all just routine. So he shimmies further into the gap, his body contorting to the shape of the crevice as he wriggles his way in. The walls becoming so tight that he can no longer use his arms. Then, about halfway, he stops.
Oh no.
The lantern. It's starting to dim. He will need to go all the way back to the surface to refuel the thing. He sighs. He slowly shuffles back out, pushing the lantern with his shoulder. Then, oh no. Ding, crack, darkness.
Oh no.
He has knocked over the lamp, and it has broken. The man breathed deeply and relaxed. He had been in worse situations before, and he was confident he could navigate his way to the surface through feel alone.
That's terrifying, though. Like, the thought of, like, you're so tightly compact, you can only kind of use your feet to shimmy, your arms are trapped, and in complete darkness, like, close your eyes and just... Oh, man, that sounds like... Dude, that's a nightmare, bro.
He searches around with his feet to find something he can push against. Ah, there's something, he thinks. But what he doesn't know is that he's pressing against a loose rock on the ceiling. As soon as he puts his weight against it, it comes free. A solid piece weighing 15 kilograms lands directly on his ankle. It aches. But he's okay. It doesn't feel as though his ankle is broken, just badly bruised and caught underneath the rock. So he shuffles to move the rock away, Suddenly, gravel. A lot of gravel. It falls onto his feet, his legs, his torso, and the weight of it all forced the rock harder down onto his foot and locks it in place.
Oh my gosh.
Every time he tries to move, more rubble falls, holding him tighter. He is stuck. This is Sand Cave.
Okay, I do know about that. Like I said, I'm not completely blind to this thing, like with my various cave tragedy watching videos thing I was doing. This is one of the ones that came up, and the way it was explained was that, yeah, that happened. Like a rock fell upon his ankle like that, and essentially trapped him. I think he was trapped there for weeks. Like, well, I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks. He was just kind of stuck like that. And like his brother and like a few friends try to get him out. Yeah, but doing it for, you know, don't get me wrong, when he was trying to get to that other part of the cave with the like the crystals and stuff, definitely beautiful. I can see that for sure, but I don't think it's worth it, man. I don't think going in any cave is ever worth it. You know, the most I mean, granted, that is a nice sight to see, but still though, man, going through all that, oh heck no.
This man is Floyd Collins. He is trapped in absolute darkness.
Oh no.
60 feet deep below the earth. All of his limbs held in place. At the very bottom of this.
The squeeze. Yeah, no. That... Yo, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. Dude, just no.
But before I tell you what happens next, ad time. Speaking of people trapped in a cave,
Seamless generative transition.
Collins is still in the dark, unable to move. He can feel the sharp crystals on the ground poking into his back. The ice melts above him, traces across the ceiling, and drips directly onto his face.
Oh, that's annoying.
He would shield himself against the dripping, except that his right arm is wedged against the roof of the cave, and his left is stuck in place underneath his torso. The cold water dripping onto him pools underneath him. Floyd took slow, steady breaths in the concentrated...
Okay, yeah, so the water, okay, so like, the water, that's like water torture, right? Essentially, I could be wrong about that, but like, just that hitting you constantly, not only is that annoying, but you can't do anything about it. And then there's like the exposure element of all the water keeps building up under you, and it's freezing, so... Oh, that's literal torture, bro. Like, the cave is literally torturing him. Holy crap.
Dark. When he did attempt to shuffle, more gravel and rocks would tumble from above and pile onto his feet, so nothing would work. He raked his fingers against the wall until blood pooled underneath his nails, and he realized that there was only one option left. Call out for help. But wait. Who is Floyd, and why did he even go into a dangerous cave? Floyd started his caving career at the tender age of 6. Growing up, exploring the caves of Kentucky was practically all he did. He would go off on his own, disappearing into the caves for many hours at a time. Have you seen that movie, The Descent? It was a lot like that. He grew up and he became embroiled in the Kentucky Cave Wars.
Kentucky Cave
Now, there's way too much to go into here, but the summary version is, there's this huge network of interconnected caves called Mammoth Caves. It's actually the largest cave system in the world. And there's a city right in the middle of it. Cave City, real name. So of course, there are dozens of cave entrances on private property all over the place. Now, farmland in this region has very poor soil, and things do not grow well here. So, cave tourism as a source of income quickly became the prominent thing. However, a problem. There are a very large number of caves, but there are only a limited number of tourists. So competition rapidly escalated. Visit my cave. No. Visit my cave. Big signs were erected saying, tourists, come to me. Mine is definitely open. Mine is the best. But then competitors would respond by saying, hey, by the way, we're open, but don't go to that one over there. It's really shitty. In fact, it's dangerous.
Okay, caution to tourists. If you want to see the original and only Mammoth Cave address, do not be misled by so-called new entry. Oh, wow. Okay, that makes sense with the Cave Wars. It sounded silly for a second, but okay, that makes sense.
Kept going further. By the end, they were blocking off the trail to each other's property, beating each other in the streets, and hiring people called cappers who would dress up as policemen and tell tourists, no, you can't go in there. That what? No, it's illegal. Despite the fierce competition.
Oh, that makes sense now. Okay, but first the whole thing, that's brutal, but that's just business, bro. Cutthroat world, the Cave Wars war. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, so the videos I saw about this I appreciate Internet Historian breaking down the background, because now it makes perfect sense where he's going with this. So the videos I saw kind of get to the tragedy itself. They don't really explain the background of Floyd Collins. It just, you know, the impression I got is just he's like many other cavers. He was doing it for the love of the game. He just happened to go into a cave, and then this tragedy happened to happen, and I was about to get into this whole thing about, like, I don't know how people have fun going caving. To me, that's like the most nightmare-inducing thing ever. But, while he does like caving, obviously, he just explained that he's been doing it since he's a kid. He's also, I'm guessing this is where he's going, that the reason he wanted to get to that crystal, those crystals, was so he can now be a part of the Cave Wars. And, make a profit. I guess the only way you can, or at least the best way you can at this point. Okay, that makes more sense. That I can't actually fault the guy for that. Like, if he was just going into, if this all happened just cause, you know, it just happened, like for fun, I'd be like, man, you should have gotten a new hobby, dude. It wasn't worth it. But I can understand the mindset now that he was doing this to make a profit, and to probably secure financial success in the best way he could here in the cave city of Kentucky. Okay, I understand. He was doing it for the grind. But still, though, like, it's kind of even more sad, huh? Alright, let's get back to the video.
Floyd found a cave on his property, and he started advertising it to tourists. Of course, very few came. Alright, he thought, what if I found something really special and unique? Then surely people would have to come to my cave to see it. So, he kept exploring and exploring, until he found this hollow. It was filled with big gypsum crystals, and when you were in there, it felt like a completely alien world.
Oh boy. Alright, my screen froze there for a second. Hopefully it's all working again. Let me see.
Barely accessible. This small tunnel is the only way in. He would need to dig for months to open it up to tourists, but he knew he could do it. Back to the competition. They knew the value of this cave. They knew the potential, they wanted it for themselves, and they wanted Collins gone. A few months prior, a group of 5 men showed up to his farm unannounced.
Hand over that lease, Floyd,
they said. Floyd, of course, refused. So they turned to violence,
oh my gosh,
knocking him down and savaging the helpless man until Homer, Floyd's brother, came running out of the house with a shotgun. But Floyd was not deterred. He spent 12 hours a day.
That's wild, dude. Sorry I keep checking. I'm using OBS now, and one of my recordings, it would pause automatically, so it only did that for that one recording, but I keep, like, exiting full screen just to make sure this is still going. The Cave Wars, bro, they were ruthless, man. We watch a lot of war videos on this channel. I'm like a history reactor, so like I know how brutal war can be. The cave wars ain't any different. But man, ugh.
Every day for months, clearing gravel and stone, chipping away at that passage. He would open it up to tourists, make his cave an incredible attraction, and make his dreams come true.
Hey! Is anyone
So there's
there?
Floyd in the dark, yelling out for help, yelling into the pitch black. After a while, his voice would give out, and he would have to sleep to recuperate. He would then wake sometime later, remember where he is, and begin yelling again for help. Here he remained in the dark for the next 23 hours.
Oh no.
Quick.
Oh my goodness, dude. Like I said, I know that he spends weeks in there, but like it's still like just so awful to hear about. And just the thought, like, I'm putting myself into his mind and thinking of how I would lose my mind after just being, like, in there for, like, an hour or two. This dude was trapped like that until he died. And I think the worst part is I knew that if I went caving, no one would be able to, well, like, no, I shouldn't say that, but either way, let's get back to the video.
You might wonder, how come no one's come for him after 23 hours? Well, Sand Cave resides on a 200-acre farm. There are several homes on this property with other families. One of them, of course, is Colin's house, where Floyd's father, Lee, resides. Now, Lee and Floyd constantly get into fights about how to run things. Lee wants his son to concentrate on farming, and Floyd wants to concentrate on cave tourism. Arguments would often get heated. And Lee was also a bit of a drunk. It was doubtful that he would even notice if his son Floyd was missing. Also not helping things, Floyd regularly lodged at 2 other homes on the farm. So when he didn't return to one host, they would presume that he was staying with the other. And, even worse still, he was known to occasionally sleep in the cave, doing stints.
That's the worst. He's so, like, active and around that he can be, like, people can afford to, like, not notice he's around for a while. Oh, dang. Like, every hour matters, right? And now he's lost 23, and it'll take a while before anyone notices. That's the worst, dude.
Of up to 30 hours in there without resurfacing.
What fills you?
Regardless, around the 23-hour mark, a few locals started to suspect that, hey, something might be wrong, and they went to check up on him. And here, they spotted his jacket still hung up. Unusual. They went deeper. However, there was only one person small enough to make it as far as the turnaround room. This was a 17-year-old Jewel Estes. He refused to go into the squeeze, but if he yelled, Floyd would probably hear him.
Floyd!
And Collins yelled back.
Yes, I'm here.
Estes emerges from the cave.
Okay, we know he's trapped, and we know where he is.
So, a whole troop of locals show up. Out of my way. Say a bunch of men who would confidently charge into the cave. But once they reach the final squeeze...
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Dude, I can't even... That's hilarious, because that's completely right, though. I can't call these people cowards. I wouldn't do it either, guys. Like, you know, sometimes I like to think, oh, I'd be like a hero and stuff. Like, dude, no, man. If I saw something that was smaller than a Subway sub, I'd be like, oh, heck no. Like, even when I was thinner, like, you know, like, I would still be like, oh, heck no, bro. Because it's just... Man, you know, I just... Cavers, man, they're a different breed, because I just couldn't. I'd also be like, nope, I get out of there.
would charge straight back out again, saying things like,
There's no way any man could fit in there.
Out of my way, they would say as they were heading in the reverse direction. So a few more hours passed. Word would spread around Cave City and the neighboring areas. Slowly, a crowd formed outside Sand Cave.
Floyd in the cave. Floyd in the cave. Oh my god. Floyd in the cave.
Over in Louisville, Floyd's 22-year-old brother, Homer, he gets a phone call.
Hello? I see. My brother. He's trapped in a cave? I'm on my way.
Homer jumps on a coach and makes his way to Floyd's cave. Homer struts up to the scene. He walks past the growing crowd of unhelpful onlookers and makes a beeline for the cave to save his brother. In he goes, down the chute, through the narrowing passages, down on his hands and knees towards the turnaround room. And when he arrives, he does not hesitate. He squeezes into the hole,
Oh my
scrambles
gosh.
his way through to the ledge on the other side. He sees Floyd below and slides down to meet him.
Oh, wow.
Floyd!
Sup?
Probably wasn't that casual.
Oh, thank God you're here.
Homer took a moment to shine his light around the area and assess the situation. It was not good. This rock formation is going to prove almost impossible to work around. Alright, so let's have a look.
Okay.
Floyd is here.
Oh, wait, I just missed the text he just put. My apologies.
Almost impossible to work around.
Alright, but first of all, good on Homer for actually going in there. That's a good brother right there, because he saw his brother was in danger, and he didn't care like everyone else would have about going into that tight squeeze. He's like, I'm going in there, and he did, and he made it to his brother. That's actually really touching. I couldn't relate. I'm an only child. You know, that's nice to see.
Alright.
Okay, we have simplified some of the more complicated geometry of the cave. There's technically a shelf area after the squeeze that faces in the reverse direction, and a couple of other small things to explain would require a lot of uninteresting detail, and it has no bearing on the story or how the event unfolded. Okay. Alright, thank you for explaining that.
So let's have a look. Floyd is here. The rock is here, pinning his ankle. He's surrounded by rubble, and there's a pocket of gravel above him, ready to fall. However, because this opening is so small, there are only two viable ways of reaching Floyd and that gravel. Option 1, the most obvious, feet first. But if you do this, you have to kind of squat, and your own torso obstructs access
Oh my
to the
gosh,
rubble.
no.
Otherwise, option 2, come down head first. That will give you better access, but you're
But
trying
how would
to
you get back up if you go down head first? Unless you're like a rope or something, like holding you, but... Yeah, how would you pull yourself out of there if you go head first?
move hundreds of pounds of gravel upside down. Worse yet, there's barely an inch around Collins on either side, so good luck getting your arm down near Floyd's ankle to actually free him from the wedged rock.
Oh my god.
Homer whips around.
Yeah, you have to be freakily, like, super thin and, like, tall in order to, like, be of great use here, right?
And yells.
Quickly, some food and drink!
They send it through. But first, Homer gives Floyd a liter of coffee to warm him up. Then, as many sausage sandwiches as he can stomach. He manages to down 9 of them.
Oh.
Dietary advice has changed since the 1920s.
Feeling better?
Much better.
Then Homer went to task. He began removing rocks and gravel, tiny scoop at a time, with the help of an old syrup can. For the next 8 hours he toiled, first with hands, then, once enough was cleared, using a crowbar to scoop behind his brother, scraping away sharp protrusions as he went. It was slow progress. Virtually futile. While holding up his body weight with one arm, he would have to use the other to scoop away gravel. Then watch as new gravel would suddenly fall from above and undo all the work. Homer stayed for as long as he could, but after several hours, He was ragged.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting. Like, again, you have to realize that you're, like, squatting, right? Like, trying to push and grab. Like, that's exhausting after a while. That's the position that Floyd is in is the interesting one. Like, he's close enough to see the way up, right? At least the way this is being depicted. He can, like, almost see, like, the chute, right, to go back up. But, like, his lower body is trapped. So, like, he can still see the way out, but, like, you know, he's trapped. Like, I don't know, something about that is even worse, you know what I mean? I don't know.
His teeth chattered uncontrollably. His lungs choked with dust. And the skin on his fingers shredded from the
Oh
rubble.
my gosh.
However, something new. By the time Homer reached outside, he was surprised to see a mob of approximately 100 men and women standing around, drinking, squabbling, and talking big game about how they too were going to save Floyd.
Oh my gosh.
The press was also present to help people gawk from afar. Homer shunned them all and rested up in a small tent in front of the cave.
About here.
Good days start with homemade breakfast sandwiches.
Strangers immediately crowded around him to ask innocent but, frankly, frustrating questions and offer unsolicited, obvious advice as well as wildly impractical solutions. Listen, you just have to untie his shoes. Free the foot, free the man, right, fellas?
No. Let's hire a contortionist. We get a hammer and a chisel. We'll have him back by supper.
We should jerk him off, right, guys? All right, I made that third bad, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I get it. Man, we haven't changed us people, bro. Like, people are like that all the time still, though. Like, you know, everyone's talking this big game. Okay, we all have the solution to solve this problem. Then, you know, you go in and solve it then. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah, all the people gawking, just... Man.
Idea. A lot of these guys are drunk, by the way, so the discussions very quickly went from 0 to 100. Hey, new idea. How about dynamite? We'll simply blow him out. One group formed, insisting it was a great idea.
Oh my gosh.
And another saying, no, the explosion will kill him, and the weight
Oh,
of
whoa,
him...
wait. Floyd himself had used dynamite in prior weeks to clear out passage... Wow. Wow, he actually had used it himself. I didn't know that. I wonder... Never mind, I'll keep that thought to myself.
New rocks will surely crush him. They shouted at each other for a while, until someone suggested, hey, how about gas torches? We can use acetylene torches to cut through the rock and make the hole bigger. No, that'll cook him, or the gas will fill the cave and kill everyone inside. They fought over that too. But by far the most common suggestion was to simply cut off the foot. Never mind that the foot itself was unreachable, and never mind that he'd lose so much blood he might not make it back to the surface, and never minding even more that Floyd was strongly reluctant to the idea.
Whatever you do, don't cut my foot off.
Homer could have easily ignored all of this pointless bickering, except that not one of them would just brave the damn cave and continue shoveling away the gravel. The formula was always the same. Bold, fearless men would strut into the cave with sandwiches and blankets, then reach the turnaround room and immediately lose their nerve, then dump it all outside of the hole, and then return back outside and go, oh, absolutely. No, he says, thanks for the food. Thank you so much. Yum, yum. No one would go through that squeeze.
Oh my gosh. Dude, can you... I'm telling you, I know that it's easy to, like, really judge these people and be like, you cowards, do something, but, like, I'm losing my nerve just looking at this photo. Like, I'm sorry if I'm a coward, guys, if you think I am, but, like, look at that. Like, I wouldn't want to go in too. I'd be like, oh, you know? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Floyd. I wouldn't be able to help, but, just... Yeah. Yeah.
Dozens more men would try. All of them would fail. February 2nd, 9 a.m. So far, Homer has been the only person who has been face to face with Floyd. And that would continue to be true until... Here we are at the Louisville Courier. There's a spirited young newshawk named William Miller. He's talking to his boss, and he's trying to convince him that it's a great idea for him to cover the story of the man trapped in the cave.
Listen up, boss. I'm hearing talk of a man in a cave. He's stuck down there, and I want to get down there too. Get to the nitty-gritty, you hear?
This is an opportunity for some good PR, Miller. I'm in. But I want us to sponsor that rescue. Picture this. Man saved from cave by Louisville Courier, the finest newspaper in the state. That'll drum up plenty of interest.
24-carat idea, boss. I'll make it happen. I'll get down there toot sweet.
So off Miller goes to Floyd's cave. Back over at the cave, Homer is sitting outside trying to recuperate. As Miller wanders up, Homer is not interested in giving an interview. He wants someone to help. So as Miller asks questions, Homer tries his best to show contempt.
Sure.
Frustrated, Homer bluntly says,
Listen, you want more information? The hole's right behind me. Why don't you go take a look yourself?
Miller thinks for a moment, then says, yeah, all right. He grabs a lantern and crouches down to enter the cave. As he walked, cold water filled his shoes. He was stepping in newly formed puddles. That water is coming from the inside of the cave as the temperature slowly increases and the frost inside melts. The stable environment of the cave is starting to change. That is thanks in no small part to the growing crowd of Gawkers. To stay warm, they were building fires and hanging around the entrance of the cave to shelter from the elements. But nonetheless, Miller presses on.
Oh, that's bad, dude. That's really bad. Definitely, so I can't fault anyone for not going inside the squeeze, like, cause I can't pretend I would either. But like at that point, you know, it's probably like if you can't do anything, just leave. You know, but again, who's gonna enforce them to all leave? Like, unless you're like the authorities, but I don't think the authorities are there, so Homer can't just make everyone go. I don't think he has that authority, so they're just kind of there. But yeah, again, it's just that's bad.
And all that's left is that final squeeze, and he's there. He stops. He takes a moment and decides to call out to Floyd.
Floyd!
Hearing there is someone on the other side, he feels ashamed not to try. Into the dark he went, through the 9-inch squeeze. The crystal gypsum
Brave
cuts
man.
into his elbows and tugs at his clothes. He gets snagged. He's spluttering through the pools of muddy water. He stops, collects himself, and pushes on. He can barely inhale. If he gets stuck in here, he can only hope that someone else can come in from behind and pull him out by the legs. But eventually, he makes it through. Fantastic. He is now on his belly, looking down at Floyd. He sat right next to Floyd, ready to interview. But Floyd didn't really answer.
You know, you have to give it to Miller. That man, that's brave. Anyone who goes through there instantly is like brave as heck, because again, the fact that he did all this is still insane too.
Any of his questions. At the moment, he is sitting in a pool of water that is 12 degrees, slowly sapping his body temperature. He is dying from exposure. The cold is diminishing Floyd's mental faculties, and he can barely make sentences. There's nothing Miller can do.
I had a really disgusting thought, but like, he has nowhere to use the bathroom, right? So he's just kind of like, in addition to like sitting in that pool of like water, he's gonna be like pooing himself and like peeing himself. I'm sorry, I don't know why my mind went there, but that makes it even worse. Oh my gosh, that's torture, dude.
So he hurriedly turns around. He worked his way back through the squeeze, past the turnaround room, and out into the daylight. Homer turns to Miller. Proof that he had made it all the way to Floyd is soaked onto his mud-stained clothes. No longer frustrated with the young reporter, instead, he excitedly runs over to him.
You and me. Together, we can get Floyd out of there.
Now, there were two people who could help rescue Floyd. Now, helping with the rescue was not the only thing that Miller did for Floyd. Perhaps even more crucially, his reporting was responsible for turning Floyd into a nationwide story. Miller took interviews, relayed first-person accounts, and would spend many hours with Floyd himself in that cave. He gave an insight into the story that only a first-person account could, and in turn, gave the public a figure who they would deeply relate to. Updates to the story would be printed in over 1,000 local and national newspapers. You couldn't escape it. It was also the era when radio became a regular feature for regular Americans. Radio allowed something new: hourly updates, letting people get engrossed into the story. So, mostly thanks to Miller, the story of Floyd over the next week would grow and grow. And everybody wanted to know, will this man make it? Back outside the cave, someone new entered the story. Robert Burden. He would become the third man to reach Floyd, a firefighter from Louisville, thin-framed but muscular. He got scratched up pretty good and soaked by the pooling water.
Yeah, so the videos I've seen regarding this is that when they talk about like people who came to try to help Floyd, obviously his brother was mentioned and friends, but it's interesting like getting to kind of see now specifically who these people are. Obviously I was aware of Homer, but you know, like Miller, a guy who doesn't really have a connection to Floyd going in there, is really like unique. And also here now, Bourbon, a firefighter, which I guess if you want anyone to try to rescue you, you would want a firefighter, right? That he seems like kind of, I mean, granted, I know firefighting and cave rescuing are kind of a bit two different things, but they are. But you know, like I guess like I don't know. I'd feel pretty relieved if a firefighter, you know, was trying to help. But you know, there are people who actually do specialize in cave rescues, and those people are some of the bravest souls. Those are true heroes because, again, the nerve to brave a cave, especially really tight ones, I think requires a lot of mental grit, especially the risk of what if something happens to you, like what if you get trapped, you know? I don't know, I just think that also, requires a lot of bravery, you know?
But he made it through with little fuss, and he confidently lowered himself down to Floyd's position. It was not an optimistic sight. Floyd's condition was deteriorating.
Well, we've got a heck of a problem here, but I think I can get you out with a rope.
Floyd nods in approval.
Go on.
We might just pull your bloody leg off.
Just pull my leg off then. Get me out of here.
Fair.
Burden returned to the surface and faced the crowd. He announced,
"We will attempt a rope pull."
I don't know if that's a good idea. You're just gonna tear his foot off.
"Yeah, hold on. What about the sharp rocks? Rake him through all that and there'll barely be a body left to bring to the surface." A physician stepped forward with authority. "The ligaments in the foot are strong, but if you pull on the torso without a harness, all you'll likely do is tear his internal organs." But Floyd is dying of exposure down there. The situation is becoming desperate. Burden put caution to the side.
The time for strategy is over. Now we try brute force.
In all fairness, it is hour 75. Time is running out. This dude's like losing his mind because he's trapped in the freezing cold. The water's getting to him. At this point, yeah, there's no more time to just be speculating, right? They gotta do what they gotta do. Yeah. Though I do know this attempt also does, like, fail. Obviously he does die in the cave, which is sad. they got really Lovecraftian. Very Lovecraftian there. Very symbolic, like the rock chaining him and dragging him down. I think that was, I guess that's him becoming delirious from, or a symbolic way of showing that he's not doing well mentally because of, you know, the exposure and whatnot. So yeah.
Here, we're gonna get you out of here.
After 79 hours in the cold water, he is delirious, fading in and out of consciousness.
I'm gonna put the special harness around you. Burden and Miller, they're here too. We got 3 more boys right up the cave, and they're all ready to pull as hard as they can to get you out of here.
Floyd was frightened.
I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna hurt.
No one knew quite how this would go. Floyd was given some food, some coffee, a large swig of whiskey, and a sedative. That sedative would keep him calm if his ankle bone is snapped or the skin on his foot is peeled off. Floyd took the opportunity to appreciate...
Yeah, at that point, just drug him. Get him drunk, drug him, you know, try to do whatever you can to numb that pain, because,
being surrounded by friends and family.
Go on. Do it.
All right, strap him up.
Homer attached a harness. He ties on the rope. Miller gives the signal.
Ready?
Burden gives the final all clear.
Ready?
Everybody braced for the tug of war. Cave versus man. The winner gets Floyd.
3, 2,
Do it.
1.
Pull!
The force of 6 men pulled against the clutches of the cave. Floyd began to scream. His body was being pulled up from the rubble. The gravel was beginning to shift. Burden's calls echo through the cave.
Pull harder!
Floyd screamed harder as well. Alright, so Floyd is trapped laying down like this. But the pulling of the rope wrenches him up like this. His torso was being compressed and bent against the ceiling of the trap. It would kill him. Floyd's screaming intensified, and through gasps was begging them to stop. But it did not stop. The agony continued. On and on, with no progress.
Enough! Enough! You guys are killing him!
Homer quickly spun.
It's the position of that cave, right? Like, he's too... Only, like, really his head is kind of out enough to see the top. Like, maybe if more of his torso, like, chest and whatnot, or out, maybe, but, like, he's still too in the passageway for this to be too effective, right? Yeah, that's, oh my goodness.
Around and started pulling against the other men. He threw his legs onto the rocks and propelled himself backwards. 1 man versus 5.
I said stop!
Coursing with adrenaline, he pulled the rope free from their clasp. The tug of war was over. The cave had won. Floyd fell back down. Homer, Miller, Burden, and the other 3 men were flat on their backs, panting for breath.
If you live in a California zip year...
The cave would not let this man go.
Yeah, man versus nature. Like, isn't that always the saying, nature always wins, or something like that? Oh, man.
The futility of the situation sank in, and all they could do was leave for now and rest. Outside, the number of spectators had increased to 200. They buzzed and asked useless questions, and Homer walked dejectedly past them. He sat by thinking what he could do. The cause seemed hopeless.
Homer?
Then, someone showed up who could turn things around. He looked up to see a childhood friend of both his and Floyd's, Johnny Gerald. He was just the man for the job. He was an experienced caver, and he was an experienced cave-trapped person rescuer.
All right, let me go see him. Well, look who it is.
Floyd perked up immediately, thrilled to see Gerald. The sparkle from Floyd's gold tooth could be seen in his smile.
All right, let's see what we can do.
Gerald jumped down. And then, for the next 3 hours, Gerald went back to the original plan of digging away the rocks. His stamina was good, and progress was surprisingly good as well. For several more hours, he continued, just moving stone after stone. New one would fall in its place, and he'd move that one too. By midnight, he had enough room to shift position and clear some of the gravel that was at each side of Floyd's body. Gerald would spend several more hours scooping. And it worked. Slowly, more and more of Floyd's body was coming free from the rubble. The lower shoulders, his chest, even his hips and thighs. It was incredible progress, but Gerald wasn't done yet. He kept going until practically all of the rubble, except a few harder to reach piles down by his legs, remained. The relief from the weight made it significantly easier for Floyd to breathe and flex his limbs. Over the course of those few hours, Gerald managed to scoop away more than 1,000 pounds of debris.
My goodness. This dude's a beast. That's amazing. All in one sitting, too. Wow. What a great friend. Like, a lot of these guys, like I keep saying, I want to sing their praises because, like, again, Homer's a great brother to be trying his best to rescue Floyd. Even, like, Miller and, the firefighter are also trying. And they have no connection to Floyd. They're just trying to help, which I think is admirable as well, you know? And obviously Gerald now is, doing a lot to rescue him. Like, again, these guys are heroes. Like, brave heroes. That's amazing. Dude, I wish I could have friends like this. Holy crap.
But there was still a lot more to go. And that rock by Floyd's foot was still holding him in place.
That's the biggest problem, that rock.
By 2 a.m., Gerald was spent. He needed rest, and he was ready to head back outside.
Floyd, tomorrow, you're gonna be a free man.
Now here you might think that things will become straightforward. They did not. Now that space had been cleared, Burden became convinced that if he could get down that passage again, he could free Floyd with another rope pull, fate deciding with both feet or just one. So Burden marches up to the cave once again, but when he tried to enter, they shoved him in the other direction. The crowd was acting as a sort of phalanx, and anyone who tried to get in was told to get lost. They had been specifically instructed to not let anyone in, and they were especially opposed to Burden making another rope pull after word spread about the disaster of the first attempt. He tried to reason with them.
Let me try the rope pull again, it'll work this time.
But they would not hear it. Oof! Of the 3 other people who could reach him, Gerald and Homer are out exhausted.
Yeah, I don't think the rope pull would have worked. Like I said, it's just the position that Floyd is in. Too much of his body is still in the passageway. So even if you do lift him, again, his chest and like torso are gonna hit the top like it did before. Maybe if he was more out, maybe, but again, I appreciate that he's trying to come up with a solution, but I just think the rope one was not optimal for the situation, you know?
And sick, which leaves only Miller, who is tied up with work. With Burden barred from entering, Floyd was left on his own, wondering why it was that no one would visit him.
Hello? Is anyone there? Help!
Oh, that's sad, dude.
Hey! Anyone out there?
Now, the work Miller was doing was handing over reports to his boss about Sand Cave. Those reports would be fed through the news grapevine to the Associated Press, and the Associated Press would send that out to its very large affiliate network. The word was spreading about Floyd. By afternoon, Miller was done with his work and he hurried back to the cave. So he gets inside and, his eyes didn't have to work half as hard to adjust to the dark. Someone had installed electric lights from the entrance right all the way down to Floyd. Miller popped down to the lower level.
Ah, Floyd! Fancy seeing you here, buddy!
When Miller reached Floyd, he took the final bulb and attached it to his collar to keep him warm. Then, reusing that syrup tin, he started offloading gravel into buckets. Those buckets were then passed up and down the cabin, like an assembly line. And so it went on for the next few hours. Until he was too tired and needed to rest. Miller then took some time to have a bit of a one-on-one with Floyd. He said, "You know, there are a lot of people in the news that are reading about you and have you in their prayers. Is there anything you want me to relay to them?" Floyd had been in that cave for over 100 hours now, and seeing everyone working together, Floyd was overcome with a sense of hope and relief. Floyd wanted to pass on a message. Here is what he is quoted in the newspaper.
I believed I would go to heaven. I can feel that I'm to be taken out alive and with both my feet. I kept thinking, what would happen if the rock above me would fall? It caused me to shudder. I kept thinking to drive my mind to something else, but it wasn't much use. I couldn't do much to help those who came to help me, but I knew that a lot of people were willing to do all in their power. It gave me courage. Tuesday morning I thought to myself, 4 days down here, and no nearer freedom than I was on the first day. How will it end? Will I get out? I couldn't think of it. I have faced death before. It doesn't frighten me, but it is so long. Tell them I am not going to give up. Tell them I'm going to fight and be patient and never forget them.
Very brave words, from Floyd, man. Again, like, despite the awfulness of the situation, the fact that he still has that, like, willingness to keep going is admirable, you know what I mean? It's just sadder when you know how this all ends, seeing that there's still hope, you know? This poor guy, the thing about Floyd is that he doesn't seem like a bad guy. I mean, granted, I don't know the man personally. I mean, I'm only kind of going off what I know about this video, but he just seems like he's a guy who wanted to, you know, try to, you know, have some financial success. I think something everyone can relate to. I think everyone kind of does, in a sense. And, you know, he has good friends, a good brother, and, you know, he just seems like a normal dude, and that's why this is why it's so awful, because, you know, he's just a normal, good guy, normal, you know, and he's going through one of the worst things. This is like one of the worst things I think a human can go through, and again, if it was like an instant death, like a cave-in or something, that's one thing, like at least it'd be over, but this is like he's just said, this is a kind of like a long, drawn-out death, where he's restricted, unable to move, slowly losing his mind due to the exposure of the cold water, unable to do anything, completely helpless, at the mercy of the elements. It's just, like, man, like, a guy like, he doesn't seem like I mean, I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but, you know, especially someone, like, just, who seems like a good person, you know, and, you know, to go out like this is just really, I don't know, it's just sad, you know what I mean? And it's tragic that this guy went through it.
Meanwhile, news of the incident kept growing. The entire country was captivated by Floyd's story. Crowds huddled around newspaper stands each morning and afternoon, waiting to get any new drips of information. It became a water cooler topic. Did you catch the latest episode of Game of Caves? He had the prayer power of practically every church in the county. Even the upper echelons of government were keeping tabs on Floyd. Congress halted session to get their little updates, and even the president, Calvin Coolidge, took a glancing interest. By the end, the Floyd Collins incident would explode into the third largest non-political story between World War I and World War II. All of this excitement brought an inundation of people to Cave City. Old population, 690. Yawn. New population, 10,000. The bank vaults ran empty as people withdrew cash to spend around town. But they wouldn't have much to spend it on because restaurants didn't even have enough stock to feed all the new customers. Practically every hotel room in the county was taken, so residents capitalized with a 1920s version of Airbnb and charged outrageous fees to offer places to sleep on their bedroom floor or in mattress-lined bathtubs. And 4,500 automobiles impatiently sat, backed up for 2 miles from 20 different states to drive onto the Collins farm, churning up all the pristine green fields with their tires and turning them into brown muck paddocks. Deep below all those tourists, there's Miller, trying to free Floyd. Alright, a little bit of setup. Floyd, Miller, some remaining rubble, rock. For anyone to lift the rock by hand would be impossible because Floyd's body obstructs the hole. Miller grabs a crowbar and shoves it through the gap. Now he's going to lever it off Floyd's foot. Cool. The crowbar is now primed in place. Next, he takes a jack. He positions it on top of the crowbar so that it will be forced against the ceiling. However, problem. That jack is too big. It doesn't fit. Miller yells up the tunnel for a smaller one, but this took some time. And when it arrived, too small, won't reach the ceiling. But instead of sending for another one, Miller takes 2 blocks of wood and bolsters them underneath the crowbar. Right, so the crowbar now sits higher, it fulcrums against the blocks, and the jack is sitting on top. All Miller has to do is expand the jack, which he will do using this spanner, holding it at the very tips of his fingers.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds easy. It's not.
Oh, that's
but
a
that's
nightmare.
the plan. Let's get him out of there. He turned the wrench.
Yeah, just like he's kind of like, again, you have to kind of be like really like lanky and just like reach, and he's doing it what he just said with the tip of his finger, so he's like really straining to do this. Again, he's basically pushing himself to the absolute limit. Miller's a hero. They're all heroes. But like, man, to go this far for someone you don't even know, it's just, again, heroic is the word I'd use. This man's he's a good person, bro. To do all this for someone, that's amazing.
The jack expanded, and the crowbar took strain. The whole thing slid apart with a pang. Floyd wasn't hurt, but Miller was contorting and exerting his whole body from back to fingertip. They tried again. Same result. Undeterred, Miller caught his breath and gave it another shot. He slowly turned the jack. Pressure building. And this time, Miller could feel the rock move. It bloody moved. He kept turning the wrench and the rock moved a little more. His hands were shaking, knees weak, his arms are heavy. Pang. One of the wood blocks flew out. It all scattered apart. The rock painfully slammed back down on Colin's foot.
You'll get it next time, Miller. Try again.
Miller kept on trying. Countless attempts. He kept pushing himself deeper into the trap, finding new approaches. Damn the blocks. No, try the blocks again. Clear some more rubble. Floyd, unable to help physically, is supporting him in spirit at least.
Oh, that's so sad. Like, all he can do is just be like, you got it, buddy. Keep going. And he's like, I can't quit. I need to help you. Like, this is a lot, dude. This is so sad.
Cheering him on. And Miller kept going and going and going until he had nothing left. For the next 4 hours he tried. No progress. Miller was exhausted. He couldn't do this on his own, but he was the only one slim enough to get in through the gap. The group decided to concede for now and return to the surface. They would take just a small break, but it looked to everyone like there was a clear way to get this man out.
Yeah.
So Miller and Burden crawled back through the mud and the wines of the cave. As they made their way through, the cave was visibly sagging. The ceiling seemed lower. Parts were harder to navigate than before, doubly so with their bruised and rock-shredded hands. They stepped outside and took in the fresh country air. But as their eyes adjusted to the light, they saw something new. A man named Henry Carmichael was standing in front of a sizable crowd of engineers in hard hats and soldiers in military uniform. Now, Henry is the superintendent of the Kentucky Rock Asphalt Company. The engineers are his employees, and the men in military garb are the National Guard. Now, Carmichael has been quietly looking at the situation from afar, and he is thoroughly unimpressed. This is no rescue operation. Once Miller & Co. call it quits, Carmichael had 2 of his employees do a proper survey of the cave and see if it was suitable.
Yeah, so far this operation has been held under normal civilians like Homer, a journalist like Miller, the firefighter, Bourbon? I think I'm getting his name wrong, but you know, I guess he's the most qualified just by being a firefighter, but then again, like I said earlier, caving and fighting fires are kind of a bit different. Very different, but you know what I mean. Still, I guess in terms of like, you know, that. So far it's been like very much a civilian-based rescue operation. So I was like, it's good to... It almost makes you think, like, where are all the, like, professionals at? Where are the, you know, professional rescuers? People who, have experience with caves at? Like, you know, considering this is the biggest story... third biggest story, non-political, in America at the time, so finally bringing up that there are some people there, like a whole team of experienced people now showing up, so that's good. But it took a bit long. It took like 113 hours, which is, again, yeah, not... Every minute matters at this point.
Bring in his whole team of men. The 2 surveyors go in. As the passage led down to Floyd, it was showing alarming signs of deterioration. You could see the splitting of the rock above. Boards were slipping out of place or splintering. Small rocks tumbled down the walls. They soon came back with a report. It was not good. Alright, so the following is a recounting of events from one of Carmichael's men, Casey Jones. Casey and another worker spent about an hour in the cave, surveying its condition, looking at the boards, the ceiling, the stability of the walls. Casey continued deeper towards Floyd. He was fighting against his nerves. The shifting of the rock pinged his every instinct to flee. But he could hear Floyd calling out for help in the distance. Summoning all of his courage, he pushed himself on. Through the final squeeze and over the ledge that looked down on Floyd. Rubble continued to drop from the ceiling, bouncing all around.
Dude, the nerve. I mean, already it was bad enough going into this cave when everything was still kind of working. Things are visibly falling apart, and he's going in there still. Nah, bro, it's just... dang.
The ceiling felt closer to him than it was before. But maybe that was just the dark, playing tricks?
Please, come down.
I can't right now, Floyd, but I will when I get back.
Now, Casey is being pulled in 2 directions.
No, come back, come on. Let's get out of here already.
Please, I'm so thirsty.
Okay.
Casey climbed down next to Floyd.
Quick, drink,
said Casey as he tried to pour some coffee into Floyd's mouth. But Floyd turned his head and kept his lips pursed. The rocks were falling at a faster rate now, the loud cracking out above, sounding like thunder. In that moment, Casey realized what was happening. Floyd was not really asking for a drink. Floyd knew that a cave-in was inevitable. Scared and approaching his 5th day trapped, he was completely at his wit's end. He knew he was about to be trapped in that cave, and he didn't want to be trapped alone.
For God's sake,
oh my
Casey,
god, this is sad and terrifying. That's like a horror. That's so sad. He just doesn't want to be alone because he knows it's over for. Dude, this is a lot. I'm sorry. I'm running out of words to describe all this. But I guess just tragic and just so sad and... He doesn't want to be alone. Dang, man.
Come on, you're gonna get us killed!
Stay with me, please. Don't leave.
Casey quickly turned away and scrambled back up the ledge. He made his way back through the final squeeze, his limbs scrambling against the cave walls. It seemed as if everything around him was shrinking. He made it out, and he joined his co-worker. They both turned around and watched on in horror as the yellow of the bulb was being swallowed by the dark. Rubble fell fast and heavy until no light could be seen at all. Rocks blocked out Floyd's panicked cries. The one route to Floyd was now sealed shut, a tomb of rock and dust.
My gosh.
It's morning. Burden and Miller jump out of their tents, ready for the day. They're feeling optimistic. Today will be the day that they get Floyd out of there. And they're packing some new tools to help them with the job. Wire to wrap around the wooden blocks, that'll stop them from slipping. And a blowtorch to carve away some of the rock, make the hole a bit bigger. But when Miller got to the turnaround room, all of that optimism left him.
I could be wrong, but it seems like that if they had just kept it to Miller, Homer, and Geralt, and they just kept trying that plan with Miller and trying to, squeeze in, maybe they could have done it. I mean, I don't know, who knows, but, they did seem to make the most progress, those three. So maybe if they had just kept it to those three, they could have done it. But again, that would require all the gawkers to get out. And again, I don't know who's gonna make them unless there were any authorities on by, because I don't think those people are just gonna listen to these three random guys. But if they could have gotten the gawkers out of there, and just kept it to just the three of them doing this, maybe they could have done it. You know what I mean? Here they already have the plan, keep the log, Miller's ready to go in and try it again. Maybe the three of them could have done it, but again, so far it seems like all the people who were inside the cave threatened its stability with their constant campfires and stuff and the heat. So that made the cave collapse in itself quicker, so yeah, the people indirectly have caused the situation to be worse. Oh wow, that's sad. That sucks so hard, dude.
The entrance to the squeeze was now just a pile of debris. Miller froze, staring at it for a long while. Then he sighed and did the only thing he could think: make an opening through that rubble. But the more he raked away, the more fell in its place. It was never-ending. He persisted, ignoring the danger around him. Thud. A large piece of debris landed on him. Luckily, it was only dried clay. He is uninjured. But recognizing the danger, Miller returned to the surface.
Yeah, get out of there, dude.
15 minutes later, he emerged from the cave with a bloodied-up nose and bruises down his back and shoulders. Burden caught sight and races over to him. Miller just says, "For God's sake, don't let anyone go back in there." Miller leaves the site. Burden doesn't know what to do. Over at the house, Homer is terribly ill and out of action, and that just leaves Geralt. Now he comes marching up when he hears the news, and he is livid. He told the crowds to keep away or the whole thing would cave in, and they didn't listen. Then exactly that thing happened. And what were they supposed to do now? The rest of the day was spent squabbling and bickering over who was to blame. "You caused the cave-in." "No, you caused the cave-in."
"Oh, cave your bloody head in, mate."
And Floyd spent the rest of that day alone.
Gosh.
The surveyors continued checking the cave throughout the day. At 6 p.m., Carmichael had ordered everyone to an assembly. Gerald took the floor. He was going to give this one last shot. Gerald addressed the crowd.
Listen up. There's death down there. The walls and ceilings are crumbling. Unless you're determined to take the biggest chance you ever took in your life, tell me now, and stay outside.
Next, they told all the Gorkas to get the hell out of the cave. Clear off. And so, Gerald went
Yeah, finally, right? Getting them away from the cave maybe could have prevented its collapse entirely, or at least allowed it to remain more stable for a bit longer. Unfortunately, getting them out now is too late, unfortunately. But, yeah, dang it.
and out of that cave half a dozen times, working away at the rubble, blocking access to Floyd, leaving only when he suspected another cave-in or to get food and water. Men on the sidelines were supplying new timber. A group of men helped Gerald to prop up the ceiling and guard against further collapse. Gerald toiled away at the pile, eager to reach his friend. He worked steadily, mindful of the danger poised right above him. Bit by bit, he reduced that pile, until a light. He called out, yelling updates through the hole.
Bad news! We can't reach you, but hold on! We're coming!
Gerald continued. The pile got smaller still.
This man is such a great friend. He's a hero, dude. He's going above and beyond the Call of Duty to rescue his friend. I can't help but actually kind of be moved by that emotionally. You know? Like, man, I wish I had a friend like Geralt, dude. That's amazing.
The gap was large enough now that Gerald thought he might be able to fit.
Gerald.
Okay, that's
if I would
enough.
say Gerald, I'm so sorry. I think it's Gerald. I am so sorry. I'm really bad with names, guys. I'm so sorry. Gerald.
Floyd, I'm going for now. But when I get back, I'm gonna get you out of there.
Gerald scrambled back out the cave, over to the men, and through panted breaths he said,
Gather the equipment, and in an hour's time, it's gonna be me and Floyd coming out of that cave.
Gerald entered Sand Cave for his final time. The walls had been reinforced, but mud and water was accumulating everywhere. He waded through it and pressed on past the danger of the sagging ceiling. With determination on his face and a grease gun clutched in his right hand, he scrambled towards Floyd. But before the final squeeze, he stopped. It was all gone. Another cave-in, even worse than the first. He thought about how he could have been on the other side of that rubble. His mind raced, weighing out what to do. He shouted,
Floyd!
As a not-so-subtle reminder of the danger he was in, a rock fell from the ceiling and cracked Gerald across the head.
Gosh.
Luckily, just a small one. He felt around for blood and kept shouting.
Floyd!
He could definitely hear a voice, but it was faint. Gerald was scared that this was Floyd's last shot at rescue, and he threw himself against the pile and pulled it away.
And he's trying everything in his power, dude. And it's so sad because it just keeps feeling so futile. Every time they get close, something bad happens. Poor Floyd, man. This is like some of the worst luck I've ever seen a human have. Dude, he is trying his hardest for him. It's so sad, but like, again, I'm like getting kind of emotional because it's really touching how the lengths someone is willing to go for him. You know, like, man.
With finger and nail, launching the debris behind him with force, tearing at the pile like a man on fire. Dust bellowed, rocks flew, and he kept shouting out for Floyd as he went.
Floyd!
Until finally, the cave had had enough. It let loose a large, jagged rock aimed straight at Gerald, striking him on his back. Gerald stumbled out of that cave, injured and defeated.
Again, like, he did everything in his power. They all did, you know? Homer, Gerald, Miller, like, it's sad that despite how much they tried, you know, at the end their efforts failed, but like they are still heroes. these guys, like I said, especially like Miller, he didn't have to do as much as he did, but the fact he did is amazing. Again, they're all... I have nothing but the deepest respect for these guys. They're all amazing, and you know, it's sad. I hope that none of them ever suffered with like any lingering guilt, because you know, they did everything they could to rescue Floyd.
Only after the cave-ins did they start to think about all of the things that they could have done.
Hindsight is 2020.
Why didn't we rig a portable telephone line? That would have been incredibly simple here in 1925.
Yeah, why have we been running in and out to deliver updates?
Why didn't we give him an AM radio? He could have had something to listen to and receive messages of support from the public.
Wait, why don't we rig up a tarpaulin so we could lift his torso up so he wouldn't be slowly dying of exposure?
Oh god, why didn't we run a feeding tube? That's also a technology we have in 1925.
All too late. Now what? The one route to get to Floyd is closed forever. That meant two options. Number one, capitulation. Surrender him to the cave. Or number two, dig down from directly above Floyd. Now, the prospect of digging from above seemed almost fanciful. At least, it did in the beginning. But luckily, they had some help. Owing to Miller's reporting, Floyd had become practically the most famous person in the country. The rescue had become a high priority for the governor of Kentucky. Lieutenant General Denhart enters the scene.
What the? Okay, I just skimmed through that. What the? Okay, he'll go on to murder his girlfriend, Verna Taylor. Oh my. He's brought to trial but results in a hung jury. Before his retrial, Verna's brothers tracked him down and shot him to... They were all acquitted. Yo, that's a wild lore drop to drop in the middle of all of this.
He's been updated on the situation, and following shortly behind him is a small army of miners and engineers.
Yeah, the professionals are being brought in, but it took a long time, unfortunately. Like, if off the bat... I mean, I know that, like, this needed to gain steam. Like, obviously, Miller and all them needed to build up the Floyd's name in order for this to finally come about, but it's unfortunate. Like, if something like this could have happened much earlier, like, things might have been different, you know? Some of the changes, like getting the Gawkers out of the cave and clearing the cave, and this seems to have come a bit too late, sadly. Like, if it had come earlier, maybe Floyd, you know, would have made it.
Declared to the despondent crowd, "Gentlemen, I am here on behalf of the governor. The purse strings of Kentucky are open. Take this blank check and bring that man out alive." Floyd, in that cold, wet confine, could not have imagined the scale of the operation that was going on 55 feet above him. Authorities assumed control of Colin's rescue. Denhart gave Carmichael control over the site, and Carmichael raced to get to work. Carmichael rallied up his men, his fleet of expensive high-tech machinery. Professional groups were brought in from all across the state. No longer was this the ad hoc effort of a few individuals. It was a professional and organized rescue. No more squabbling and standing around. Everyone knew what they had to do, and they were working as fast as they could. But just as hopes were rising, they were once again dashed against the rocks. They had all of this state-of-the-art machinery shipped in and assembled by the engineers and rearing to go. And it was all worthless. See, the problem is, the cave drew air into it. These diesel-powered engines pumped out enormous volumes of choking exhaust. Within a day's operation, The cave would be filled with carbon monoxide, and Floyd would be dead from asphyxiation.
This sucks.
Just as quickly as solutions would arise, the cave would parry them away.
Dude, I'm convinced this cave is cursed. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, it looks like a mouth. Like a freaking monster's mouth. I'm convinced this cave is like cursed. Because no way this amount of bad things, this amount of setbacks is just, this is too much. It has to be cursed, right guys? Like, do you agree with me on this? Like this cave like had it out for Floyd. It cursed him the moment he went into it.
It refused to let this man go.
It's probably alive for all we know.
This useless machinery was now blocking the path to Floyd, which means they would have to spend the next couple of hours disassembling all of it and moving it away. Because they're about to dig a 55-foot pit the old-fashioned way, by hand. Carmichael's expertise was in quarries, but the principles transferred over to caving and digging holes. He did some quick back-of-the-envelope math. I've got 75 men, they can dig at 2 feet per hour, and we have to go 55 feet deep. That means we can get to those men in roughly 30 hours, give or take. Now, is it possible that Floyd could survive for another 30 hours? Absolutely.
30 hours.
Let's go. 4 men started.
Okay, so what's the rule? Three, you can survive maybe like a few weeks without food. You can definitely make it through that. It's the water situation that's like the actual problem. Because what's the saying? You can only go 3 days without agua. Unless like you would have like the constant dripping of the cave that was hitting Floyd's face. Like, if you could somehow drink that, I guess. Maybe? I don't know, the logistics there. But yeah, the food situation can be, wouldn't have to worry about starvation, but it's the water that's the real problem.
Great pace. The soil was soft and easy to dig. But as they got deeper, it became more difficult. The deeper the shaft, the narrower it became. Soon, instead of 4 men, they could only fit 2. Carmichael understood well that this was a race against time, so it was important that these 2 men were working at full capacity. Carmichael had a queue of men on the sidelines, poised to dig, and the moment that either of the 2 men in the hole slowed down, oi, they pulled them out and threw in a new one.
Alright, efficient.
Nonetheless, progress slowed the deeper they went. About a quarter of the way down, they reached rock, and one of the men would have to work a pickaxe, leaving only one to shovel. At this depth, rubble couldn't just be flung into a pile. They had to start loading it into buckets, which would have to be pulled to the surface on ropes. Then men outside were ready with wheelbarrows to cart that downfield. Time passed. Hours passed. Night went to day. The day was hot. This was yet another problem, because it's early February, there's tons of ice still in the ground, and its exposure to the midday sun was causing it to become unstable, and the ground was becoming sodden as a result. Progress slowed once again, just half a foot per hour. There was little for Colin's friends and family to do, but watch the clock and pray. Interestingly though, there were a lot of people on the sidelines. Floyd wouldn't have believed the scene above him. Practically everything but a Ferris wheel. Food stalls were set up to cash in on the crowds. Families and church groups picnicked in the fields. Despite prohibition, moonshiners showed up to sell jugs with all of those X's written on them. There was even a bloody juggler. I won't stop juggling till he's free. And Old Man Lee was there, walking around, shaking his jar, and soliciting donations. But where were
Wow. Dang, dude. feels weird. They're just all kind of like having this there are these festivities going on while this dude's dying, clinging to life. I don't know. It feels I don't know. It feels a little like rude, I guess. But like, I don't know. Isn't it ironic that Floyd wanted all of this? He wanted to use the cave to like get like rich and, you know, successful. Yeah, now it seems like the cave has used him to be an attraction of some sorts. There's something like what's the saying? Like a monkey paws? Like I guess ironic, or what is it? A monkey paws wish or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not quoting it perfectly, but yeah, there's something like incredibly like twisted about all of this.
And Burden and Miller during all of this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back up a bit. People did not properly understand exactly how Floyd was trapped, and the news didn't help much either. So the obvious question started to arise. Why hasn't he been rescued yet? Just clear some gravel or pull a rope. How is this so hard?
Freaking the people on the sidelines just watching on, acting like they know everything, right? Why haven't you gotten him out? I could have gotten him out. Like, I could have gotten him out already. Like, it's easy. Just pull the rope, dude. Like,
Motive was attributed.
I heard they didn't even want to have him rescued at all.
I heard that they're doing all of this for publicity.
And Lee's activity of soliciting donations, remember from before, further inflamed rumors.
I bet Floyd isn't even trapped in there.
These were all real rumors, and they got worse.
You know what? I've heard he comes out at night, and then he just goes back in the morning.
Other rumors included...
I heard that after Floyd went into the cave, someone murdered him.
Okay.
Others said...
I think they're withholding food and water from him, so he dies.
What?
This whole thing is a fraud.
As time went on, it was...
That's so disrespectful. We haven't changed. This is like reading Reddit and like freaking Twitter comments nowadays. We haven't changed, guys. Like, people like to be like, man, back then us humans used to be way more civilized. Back in my day, we were always like this. We were always kind of like this. Dude, that's... we haven't changed in many ways. As like, us humans haven't changed, dude.
Harder and harder to ignore the hoax claims. Then, people started to form righteous mobs, claiming the whole thing was a fraud, and they started to get nasty. In fact, 2 people even went to the telegraph office and pretended to be Floyd sending telegrams to his mother, who, by the way, died several years ago. Here's what it said. Quote, "Please contradict statements that I am buried alive in Sand Cave. Stop. Tell mother I am all right. Stop. Am coming home. Stop. Floyd..."
Why? To prove your conspiracy theory, you're going that... This sucks, dude. Some people are just like, come on, like, no respect, no shame, you know?
Collins. Naturally, the AP published these telegrams unquestioningly, and now word is out to the press that he isn't actually in the cave after all. That made the authorities look foolish, and it could not go on. So, a hasty court-martial was arranged, and Homer, Miller, and Gerald were summoned. They hold one session on Monday and another on Tuesday. Lee and everyone else is cleared of charges, a retraction is written, and things carry on. The men at the dig were busy as ever. They set up pumps to mitigate the water in the shaft. Men continued working in shifts and carrying away the earth. Here they are with strips of lumber to shore up the walls. They were just short of halfway, and their rate of clearing material had slowed to a mere 4 inches per hour.
Oh no.
It was at that point Carmichael went, yeah, okay, sod the cave-ins, try the dynamite. But it hardly made a dent, and it risked causing the shaft to collapse. But despite all of these challenges, there was an optimism in the air, because everyone was keen for their turn to dig. And because they had one more thing to latch onto. He is probably still alive. Now, how do they know that? Okay, so remember that light bulb around Floyd's neck? Well, it's powered by a simple copper wire. Bare copper wire is subject to very minute fluctuations in resistance. So, an engineer rigs up a radio amplifier to this wire to read the current and see those small fluctuations. There they were. About 20 per minute. The rate of steady breathing. As his chest...
Wow. Okay, that's incredibly smart. Heck yeah, science. That's very smart to see that.
Expands and contracts, they can read it from this device. And so, they kept going.
Oh my gosh.
And going. And going. 30 hours was the original estimate. Now 144 hours had come and gone, and they were only at 44 feet.
Oh, man.
Then, rain fell. Rain that mixed with dirt to make mud, much of which then froze to make ice. Ice which expanded and damaged the integrity of the shaft walls. Slowing down with every hour, they continued. Many more hours passed, and they were getting close.
Hours.
But it was now 15 days since Floyd was first stuck in that cave, and people had mostly lost hope. That excitement in the newspapers was tempering down. Visitors began clearing out from Cave City. Many still held on to hope, but their final lifeline, that light bulb, had burnt out. And it wasn't possible to do any more readings on the radio amplifier without it. No one knew if Floyd was still alive. Another 51 hours would pass before, finally, they reached the 60-foot depth.
I'm in! Chisel!
A chisel is handed down at 1:30 p.m. on Monday, February 16th. Sand Cave would open once again. Floyd had been pinned in that cave for 17 days. 12 spent without food, survivable. 12 without water, likely not survivable.
Yeah.
The light bulb, a vital source of warmth, burnt out 4 days ago. But maybe the moisture from the dripping of the cave walls provided him with some sustenance?
Yeah,
There are stories of people surviving harsher extremes. A few final rocks were moved to allow Ed Brenner to squeeze in. Everybody stood by, absolutely silent, peering into that hole. Ed scanned the opening with his flashlight, listening carefully for movement. Then, head first, he worked his way in. The flashlight reflected dimly off the rock walls, but then caught the reflection of something gold. That golden flicker was not the light bulb. It was the glistening of light reflecting off a gold tooth. His mouth hung open. Floyd was dead. Brenner was helped out of the cave and
he had one of the worst deaths in human history. Honestly, like, again, I don't think Floyd, no one deserves a death like that, but especially, like, Floyd, dude. He just seemed like a normal guy, and to go out like that, yeah, that really, it's tragic, you know? And again, everyone tried their hardest to save this poor guy. Just one of the worst deaths I've ever heard of. Yeah, honestly, caves just shouldn't be messed with, guys. Like, I just think humans don't belong. Um, caves just... I don't know, that's just sad, man. This whole video is kind of just sad, you know? Rip Floyd.
He delivered the news.
Dead.
A coroner would later state that Floyd succumbed to exposure, and that they had missed him by just 3 days, about the same time that the light bulb had gone out.
Oh, that's like symbolic, right? The light bulb going out with his death, it's like almost like that was like his last shred of hope or life, and just... Man, dude.
When the light bulb went out, so too did his one source of warmth. If it had held out, Collins might have as well. But what would they do now with the body? The shaft walls were ready to fall inwards, and risking lives to remove a corpse was seen as just irresponsible. So it was decided by the authorities. Floyd will stay in that cave. Now, this did not sit well with the family, but what could they do? The next day, they planned the funeral. The town emptied of people, and the shaft, with Floyd at the bottom, was filled back in. But that's not quite the end of the story. But if you hung on for this long, keep holding on, because things are going to continue to get interesting. But first, let me do a wrap-up of where everyone is and all that stuff, context.
Alright, so I'm in uncharted territory. I didn't know, like I said, I saw some things about the like, videos about the Floyd Collins incident, so I didn't know he was a goner, but it's still, like, just sad. I think it's because there's so much more detail. Like, those videos get straight to the point he gets trapped, and then, you know, like, they're really short. This one is, like, an in-depth look at who he was as a person, his, like, life, his motives for being in the cave, and the people trying to rescue him, so it's all much more like a gut punch learning about it, you know? Yeah. But from here, but those other videos I saw usually end after his death, so we're definitely in uncharted territory now.
Context. The Collins family already had financial hardship. Lee Collins wasn't able to raise much money from the donations. After the crowds cleared, he was seen searching the site, scanning for empty bottles that he could resell. But the owner of the land, B. Doyle, and supposed friend of Floyd, was wholly unsympathetic. He put up a sign that said, "Floyd's dead body, right this way. Come on now, take a look, only 50 cents a gander." It's 100 years later, B's dead. Let's call it even. Also,
but, like, that's kind of messed up. I mean, you know, like, kind of exploiting your friend's death like that seems a little much, dude. You know, seems a little disrespectful to me. That's messed up.
So, remember those claims of Kentucky being an open purse? Well, the state reneged on the deal.
Oh my gosh.
They refused to pay many of the rescuers, and most of them went home without the promised pay.
That sucks so hard. You know, this story is really interesting. Because on one hand, it shows some of the best of humanity, I think. It has people like Miller and Homer and, you know, Gerald all going above the line of duty to rescue Floyd, and like and all these people putting in the effort to save him. And then on the other hand, you have some of the worst of people, like here exploiting his friend's death, you know, pretending to be Floyd, sending letters to his mom, people forming righteous mobs and calling the whole thing a sham. Like, you kind of have a bit of both. The best and worst of some humans. in this story, which I find really interesting.
Many having sacrificed a week's worth of wages from missing their regular work. Some of them did make some money out of the situation, though. They signed on to a type of touring theatre called vaudeville. They roamed the country, telling their personal stories of their attempted rescue. Miller received the best offer out of anyone, however. How about 50 grand to do the Chautauqua lecture circuit? It'll be worth nearly $1 million in 2023 money. He declined. He stayed loyal to the Louisville Courier, continuing his work there for several more years. Although,
my name is Rodney Tezar. Recently,
he won the 1926 Pulitzer Prize for his reporting on Floyd Collins.
Yeah, well deserved. Well deserved. What a great journalist he was. Well deserved.
Okay, so back to the brother, Homer. He needed money and he agreed to do that vaudeville circuit. He stood on stage and shared with the crowd stories about growing up with his brother, Floyd, and detailing out the tragedy. But Homer made it known why he was up here on stage trying to get money. He had a mission.
I kept thinking of Floyd lying in the muck, where he had suffered beyond our power to imagine. I would never have peace of mind if he remained there.
He wanted the money to dig Floyd up and get him out of that cave. A couple of months later, he...
What a great brother, Homer. Poor Homer, man. Like, losing your brother... Like I said, I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings, so I can't fully relate to a bond that siblings would have. But, I imagine it would be beyond devastating, as losing a close family member would be, you know? And, like, the poor guy, like, after everything he tried, losing his brother, like, the fact that he still wants to get his brother and let him not be in that godforsaken cave. Poor Homer, man. The guy has a good heart, dude. A great brother. Great man.
He had it. Alright, so back to Floyd. April 17th, 1925. Homer and a team of excavators. They began to dig. Within a week, they had arrived at Floyd. But instead of coming down the same passage near Floyd's head, they approached from the other side where his foot was. It allowed them to remove the rock that trapped him in place. They lifted him up from his tomb and laid him down on the fresh air above. A couple of days later, Floyd was given an honored place at the family cemetery, next to his mother. A stalagmite was taken.
Rightfully so. Again, Homer, great brother, man. Thank God he got him out of that godforsaken place. No one should just have to, like, rot in that cave, you know? Being buried along with his family. That's great.
Taken from Sand Cave, carved with his name, and used as a headstone.
It's so sad he had to go, though.
And there he lay. No, that's not actually where it ends.
Oh.
Okay, this is where it gets weird. 2 years later, 1927, the Collins family's finances hadn't much improved. A dentist, Harry B. Thomas, walked up to the property and made Lee an offer. Sell this property to me, and I will give you $10,000. Now, Homer begged him not to, because at the time, the government was starting to buy up tons of land in the area and turn it into national parks. They had to pay at a very competitive rate. But Lee was becoming a bit old and senile by this point, and frankly, it's doubtful that he cared about Homer or Floyd or anyone else for that matter. It's 100 years later, he's dead now, let's call it even. So, the point is, in this land sale with Thomas, Lee agreed to a very odd clause. And that clause said, everything on that property belongs to Thomas. And should he wish, for example, to exhume a dead body and re-embalm it and put it on display in something really tacky like a glass coffin inside a cave, maybe, then that would be his prerogative.
My God. Dude, what? Let the man rest. Just let him rest. I was all like, oh, it's good he's back home. Like, no! No! Why does everyone keep using him? I'm telling you, there's something ironic, really twisted fate to this. You know, like, he wanted to use the cave for tourism to make a profit, you know? And it's like the cave has used Floyd instead. Floyd has become the attraction. His corpse, his death, is the attraction that the cave has used. There is something... I'm telling you, the cave is cursed. This cave is cursed. You can't convince me otherwise. This is messed up. This is so disrespectful to use someone's body like this. It's disgusting. You know? To use someone's death and body, their corpse, to just for your own profit, for your own... That's messed up, dude. Like, no joke, yeah, that's...
He signed yes. And Thomas did exactly that. Doyle made Floyd's corpse a tourist attraction.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. Two bits of gander, come and wonder at the incredible dead man who died in a cave. But to add insult to injury, it worked. Visitors returned to Sand Cave to gawk morbidly at Floyd. Within a few months, Thomas had turned Lee's failing farm into a successful business.
This is messed up. All posing all happy, like, oh, look at this guy. Like, like posing with the corpse and... Floyd, man. This guy had some of the worst luck in life and in death. Floyd Collins was screwed over so hard. He had the worst straw.
The Collins family, naturally, is appalled by the situation.
Rightfully so.
And they immediately object. They try a number of times to get Floyd returned to them, including through the legal system. But somehow, incredibly, the judge ruled in Thomas's favor. And so, there he lay, for the next 2 years. The cave was not done with Floyd.
My goodness. This cave hated that guy.
Until someone hatched a plan. 2 years later, it's midnight, outside Sand Cave. Footsteps can be heard rustling through the brush. Now, we don't know who these two men are, but we know why they are here. To rob a grave. They sneak inside and clamber over the rocks in the darkness. Reaching Floyd's casket, they undo the latch and throw open the lid. There is his shriveled body. They throw him in a gunny sack, and they race off into the night. For 800 yards they carry dear Floyd, like a couple of sweaty Santas about to deliver a really terrible Christmas present. Panting, out of breath, knowing that they're going to get caught any minute, they reach the Kentucky Green River hillside. There's no time. With a 1, 2, 3, they launch his body towards the river, and Floyd goes sailing into the air, up, up, into the starlit beyond, and landing in a bush. Oh, God. The two men flee from the scene. Now, the next morning, Thomas notices that the body of...
Dude, what is going on? Guys, what's going on right now? I thought everything was kind of a bit... Dude, I can't even... I'm losing the words, guys, to process, to describe what I'm watching right now.
Floyd is somewhat missing, and he contacts the authorities. The police come, they dust the casket for fingerprints, and bloodhounds are given Floyd's scent and let loose into the hillside. A few hours later, they manage to find him, splayed out in a big shrub down by the river. But this time, with a leg missing. That same one that was trapped under the rock. So, to Despite his protests, it had been amputated. Neither the leg nor the
My goodness, no one has any respect. I thought you were supposed to, like, respect the dead or something. Or, like, not desecrate, like, corpses and stuff. But everyone just seems to, like, not care about that.
culprits were ever found. And while it would be nice to think...
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like Homer for a second, trying to steal back his brother. No, they just want to get rid of his body, I guess.
think that this was some well-intentioned duo that did this out of the kindness of their hearts to free Floyd. It's much more likely that it was an act of vandalism because Floyd was simply too much of a hot tourist attraction.
My goodness.
The following day, Floyd was cast back into the cave, back into his box, and it was covered by a metal lid, surrounded by a metal chain, and locked with a padlock. He was now more trapped than he had ever been. This cave had spun fate once again to make sure that its victim would never leave.
This cave hated that guy. Like, man. The amount of twists and turns this has taken. I'm telling you, this cave is evil, dude.
And so,
Congested and couch rid.
time passed. Floyd's body would continue to decay. The rot from his... And so, time passed. Floyd's body would continue to decay. The rot from his body would eventually rot the casket too, and every decade or so, it would need to be replaced. A few years later, he was no longer on display. But even then, he remained in that box for many more years. By 1989, Floyd's Cave was purchased by Mammoth Cave National Park, and it was closed to the public. There would be no more visitors. The entrance itself to Floyd's Cave was closed with a steel gate and bolted, then welded shut. But the
yeah, that's great. Make sure no one ever gets in that cave again. Like, good move there.
Collins' family never gave up objecting to Collins' body being left in the cave. And here is where the story ends. In 1989, at the Collins' request, the National Park Service ventured into Floyd's Cave. Continuing on a more than 60-year tradition, a team of people worked over the course of several days to remove him from the cave. They took him out, left the cave, locked it behind them, and laid Floyd to rest at the Mammoth Cave Baptist Church Cemetery. After 64 years in Sand Cave, he is now finally at peace. The end.
Finally, thank God.
Thank you to Wendigoon as Floyd.
If you don't let me out, I'm going to hire a gang of hitmen to come to your house and kill your family.
Samito as Homer.
The BTS meal McDonald's bag that has
I'm
McDonald's
hungry.
and BTS. Shut the fuck up and eat some BTS, bro.
Ordinary Things as Miller.
I'm enthusiastic, but would ultimately duck out the back exit.
Rusty Cage as Gerald.
Oh, well, hello there. Haven't seen y'all in a while. Welcome to my new home.
And Many Kudos as Burden.
Hey, buddy. You right down there?
I can.
A little sleepy?
I can get out.
We get your coffee?
Cold and
Little cup of Joe? Little cup of Joseph?
I'm starting.
A cup of Joseph from a little sleepy guy?
And do not forget, World of Tanks, World of Tanks.
gosh.
None of this would have happened if Floyd had got World of Tanks.
Yeah, instead of caving, he could have been gaming, which is the much safer alternative. So, yeah. What a great video. Like I said, I was aware of, like, the main parts of, like, the cave. Obviously, his death and kind of being trapped, but everything else, like, the better look into Floyd Collins' like early life, his motives, the people who tried to save him, and the wildness that happened after he died with his corpse and body. That poor guy. I'm just glad he's finally at peace. Just let him rest, dude. It's still tragic he passed away, though. Again, though, like I said, I normally am like kind of like look at cavers and be like, dude, you're insane. But I understand that at least why I was way more, like, sympathetic towards Floyd is because, well, he was doing it for, like, a type of financial gain and, you know, to better his future. So I can't, like, diss that. Like, if he was just there for the fun of it and that happened like a lot of other cavers, yeah, I wouldn't be, like, hateful. I'd just be like, dude, it ain't worth it. Just do something else. Make YouTube videos. You know, this is my hobby. Making YouTube videos. Like I said, the worst that can happen to me is I get a mean comment or like a downvote. But I think I'll survive. Like, you know, the worst that can go wrong with caving is this. This is worst case scenario, and it ain't worth it, bro. But again, poor guy. There is, I keep saying that there is something incredibly twisted about the fact that he wanted to make this cave an attraction and he ended up becoming the attraction instead. There's something so dark about all this. But, either way, great video from Internet Historian. Overall, guys, just rest in peace, Floyd Collins, man. Rest in peace.